The horse that I'm trimming in this video is a gaited horse, and I have him on a pretty short cycle all year round, even through the winter. He's on a 4-week cycle that's really consistent, so this is much more of a maintenance trim. So I just cleaned up his frog a little bit, and now I'm cleaning up his bars. The lateral one especially wants to lay over on the sole a little bit, so I want to remove that excess material. So I'm going to clean up the frog a little bit more, just any areas that might contain any thrush, I just want to get rid of those. Now I'm doing more of a vertical nip on his toe. If this horse has any type of pathology, it is that he likes to grow a lot of toe. So it's usually something I have to bring back quite a bit because it will start to pull his heels forward. He grows out, not down. So there's a lot of, I guess, length to remove, but not a lot of height. So I have to tip my nippers like that. So now I'm going to do some rasping and make sure everything's balanced medial-laterally. Make sure those heels are smooth, and just start making my bevel from the bottom, with at the same time being mindful to not rasp the sole at all. He doesn't have a lot of concavity in his front feet, so try really hard to not touch the sole with any of my tools while I'm trimming him, because he needs every little bit of it he can get. So now I've got this hoof pulled forward, and you can see it from a different perspective. You can see that he has a very healthy hoof wall. He really doesn't have any dishing and flaring, so I'm basically just going to finish my bevel from the top and call that hoof good, because everything is pretty much as it should be. And there's not much to explain in this part of the video. So somehow I lost the footage of the bottom of this hoof being trimmed. Don't know where it went, but I still wanted to show the top side because there's a few little sand cracks, which are those small little vertical cracks that are in the hoof wall, but they're only on the surface of the hoof wall. They don't go deep at all, and they certainly don't extend into the white line. So those don't really bother me too much, and I tend to just leave them open.
Ready?
So I've moved on to this hind hoof now, and you can see in a second he's going to pull this foot away. There he goes. Had to slam it down a little bit. He's not trying to be bad. This horse actually has an issue with his hocks, and he was due to get injections soon. So he was getting a little bit sore having his foot up there, and he's a little bit of a nervous horse. So he said, "Hey, I need that back," and he pulled it away. He's not trying to be bad. But now he's calmed down a bit, and I've got his foot in a position he seems to be okay with. So I'm continuing on with my trim. I trimmed up the frog, and I removed some material from the bars to try to straighten them out. Now I'm bringing that toe back, which is going to be a theme on all of his hooves, because if this horse does anything well, he grows a lot of toe. So I usually bring it back quite a bit. Now I'm kind of smoothing everything out using my rasp, making sure everything's balanced from side to side, and that my heels are back where I want them. And then I'm going to work on my bevel a little bit from the bottom before I put this hoof down and bring it forward on the stand to finish this horse's trim on this hoof. So now I've got that hind foot forward, and just like the fronts you saw, like this horse really doesn't have much distortion at all in his hooves. Maybe he has a little lateral flaring, but it's pretty negligible. So I'm just going to focus on my bevel and make sure everything is smooth and soft and there's no sharp edges. Work on this horse's right hind, and just like the other hooves, I'm kind of addressing his frog first. I want to clean it up a little bit, make sure there's no loose little flaps or anything that might be harboring fungus and bacteria. Want to check that central sulcus, make sure there's nothing in there. And then I'm going to clean up his bars like on the other hooves too. There's a small little pattern you can sort of notice, is that those lateral bars like to lay over a bit more than the medial ones, and that's pretty common, especially in any type of gaited horse. So we just want to try to clean it up and straighten it so that it doesn't create a pressure point on the sole right there. So I just brought his toe back with my nippers, and now I'm removing any excess height or length with my nippers back by the heel and through the quarters. And now I'm going to use my rasp to smooth everything out and do some fine tuning with the balance of this hoof. So every once in a while I will rasp through the sole of this horse's hoof a little bit. It depends on how long his toes are and how much they have pulled the foot forward and changed the breakover of that hoof. So I wouldn't highly recommend that unless you know a horse really well and you know they're not going to be sore from you doing that. But this horse is one of those that sometimes it's very necessary to make progress or just to maintain his hooves. So I started my bevel, and now I'm just smoothing out any rough edges, and especially back by the heel. That's an important spot to make sure you get things smooth and balanced. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And so far that hoof's looking pretty good, pretty well trimmed, pretty balanced. Sometimes after you rest the wall, you're going to have to take those bars down again a little bit because they might be sitting high, or pieces of frog. So pay attention to those little details in case they need to be addressed.
Ready?
So now I've got this hoof forward on the stand. I'm going to finish my bevel from this position. And you can see really that he really has very little dishing or flaring like the other three hooves. And I'm not trying to really fix anything balance-wise from the top. So I'm just smoothing things out and making sure this hoof has a nice smooth bevel on it. And that's about it for this trim. I want to say thank you for watching. Here's a clip of the horse that I just trimmed. And he's a sweet old man. I'm going to take his licking and chewing as a sign of satisfaction with what I did to his hooves. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch y'all on the next video.